She promised it was just a business trip. I checked the flight info. She was headed to the same resort we honeymooned at. I drove there instead. Watched them from across the pool as she sat on his lap. I took one photo. Then left. A week later, I filed something that made her beg me not to. I'm not some emotional guy. I don't write things down or pour my heart out. I work with my hands. Fix things. Stay quiet. But when something breaks so bad you can't fix it, sometimes writing is all you've got left. My name's Derek. I'm 41. I've lived in Waukesha, Wisconsin all my life. I've worked the same plumbing job for over 20 years. My life's always been simple: wake up, work hard, come home, repeat. I married Rachel in 2012. She was a high school English teacher, real sharp, always had a plan, always had control of everything. I thought we were a good match. I was steady, she was sharp. She liked things clean, organized. I liked having a home that felt stable. For the first few years it worked. We didn't fight much. We didn't party or spend crazy. Our life was calm. Some would say boring. But I liked boring. We honeymooned in Cancun. Not one of those huge resorts, but a quiet place called El Mar Azul. It was peaceful, private. We drank out of coconuts, danced barefoot on the beach, talked about our future like we had it all figured out. Over time, I started to notice Rachel pull away. She stopped laughing at my dumb jokes. Didn't reach for my hand like she used to. Said she was tired. Said work was stressful. I didn't push. That was my mistake. I gave her space, thinking that's what she needed. Thinking I was being a good husband by not asking questions. But space turned into silence. Silence turned into secrets. She started going on more weekend trips with her teacher group. Conferences, she said. Workshops. Training seminars. She was gone 2-3 times a year, sometimes longer. Always came back with souvenirs and stories and fake smiles. One Thursday night, she came into the kitchen while I was watching the Packers game. Got a conference in Minneapolis this weekend, she said, not even looking at me. Just packed a suitcase and started doing laundry. Didn't you just have one in January? I asked. This one's different, she said quickly. It's about curriculum changes. Required for all department heads. I wanted to believe her. But she said it too fast. Like she rehearsed it. When she left the next morning, she kissed me on the cheek, said she loved me, and walked out the door. I stood there in the kitchen staring at her suitcase, at the heels she packed, the red dress she never wore anymore. Something was off. I don't know what made me do it. I'm not the jealous type. But that night, I opened our home laptop, logged into her email. She'd used the same password for years. I felt like a creep, but I had to know. There it was. A confirmation from Southwest Airlines. Flight from Milwaukee to Cancun. Not Minneapolis. Departed that morning. Returning Tuesday. I sat there staring at the screen. Cancun. Same exact week as our wedding anniversary. Same damn place we spent our honeymoon. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat the next day. I told my boss I needed time off, made up a story about a family emergency. I packed a small bag and drove through the night. Took I-55 all the way south until I got to Houston, then hopped a flight to Cancun. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. When I landed, I stayed at a cheap motel about a mile from El Mar Azul. I didn't want her to see me. I needed to be invisible. I needed proof. The next morning, I shaved, threw on sunglasses, and walked straight into El Mar Azul like I belong. No one asked me anything. I sat at the outdoor pool bar, ordered a drink, and waited. It only took 15 minutes. She walked out in that same red dress she wore on our 3rd anniversary. Her hair was down, glowing in the sunlight. She looked beautiful. Just not mine anymore. He came out behind her. Tall guy. Athletic. Maybe late 40s. Button-up shirt half open, gold chain. Looked like one of those slick real estate types. She laughed at something he whispered in her ear. Then, right in front of everyone, she climbed onto his lap, threw her arms around him, and kissed him full on the mouth. They didn't see me. But I saw everything. I stood up slowly, walked behind a palm tree, and snapped one photo. Just one. Her legs wrapped around his waist, her fingers tangled in his hair. Then I turned around and left. Didn't even look back. Didn't speak to her for a week. Not even a text. She came back Tuesday like nothing happened. Told me the conference was productive. Kissed me. Said she missed me? I nodded. The next day, I printed the photo. Took it to a divorce lawyer. Filed everything under irreconcilable differences. And attached the picture. Had the papers served to her at school. She called me 20 minutes later, crying so hard she could barely speak. Derek, please, not at work, please don't do this. I didn't say much. Just told her she made her choice. That's when she panicked. Suddenly it wasn't just a fling. It was a mistake. She wasn't thinking clearly. Said she needed to feel something again. That it didn't mean anything. That she never stopped loving me. I hung up. Then the real mess began. She showed up at the house the next day with tears and promises. Said she'd go to therapy. Said it only happened once. That she was confused. She even said he meant nothing, just some guy from a teacher conference she met last year. Funny. He looked like he meant something from where I stood. She begged me not to tell anyone. Said it would ruin her career. Said it was a private matter. But I wasn't the one who took it public. She did that when she cheated in broad daylight at the same resort we started our life together. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. I just gave her the keys to her car and told her to go. I kept the house. But she wasn't done trying. Not even close. After I made her leave, I thought that would be the end of it. I thought she'd sign the papers and let me go. But I underestimated Rachel. She wasn't used to losing control. And she sure as hell wasn't ready to look like the bad guy. A few days later, I got a letter from her lawyer. She was contesting the divorce. Claimed I was being vindictive. Said I invaded her privacy. Said the photo was taken without her consent. That it was damaging to her reputation. I read that line 3 times. Couldn't believe it. She cheated, and somehow I was the problem? She was stalling. Trying to buy time. Probably hoping I'd cave. Maybe even try to work things out. But I didn't budge. That's when the smear campaign started. She called my sister. Told her I'd been acting unstable. Told her I followed her to another country. Because I imagined she was cheating. My sister called me crying, asking if I was okay. I told her everything. The trip. The photo. The truth. After a long pause, she said, I believe you, Derek. She always liked to twist things. Then Rachel showed up at my job. She came during my lunch break, stood by my truck, acting like everything was fine. We don't have to do this like enemies, she said, trying to smile. You're not a cruel man, Derek. I didn't respond. Just stared at her. She sighed, dropped her fake smile. If you go through with this, I lose everything. My job, my reputation, my pension. You know what that'll do to me. Maybe you should have thought about that when you sat on his lap, I said. She slapped me. Right there in the parking lot. Didn't even care who saw. Her face twisted with rage. You're not the only one who gets to be hurt, she yelled. I gave you years of my life. You were boring. You never changed. You just stayed the same small, quiet man you always were. I wanted more. I looked her in the eye and said, Then you should have left me before you found it between another man's legs. She stormed off. That night, I got a call from the district's HR department. They said I'd been named in a harassment complaint. From Rachel. Said I threatened her job with private surveillance, that I was stalking her. I laughed when they read the claim. I told them I had one photo from a public resort of my wife cheating on our anniversary at the place we got married. The HR guy got real quiet after that. But Rachel wasn't done. She still had her boyfriend. I didn't even know his name yet. She kept that part hidden. So I did some digging. I had the photo. I ran it through one of those reverse image tools online, just in case. Nothing came up. Then I got lucky. She had posted a picture on Facebook back in February, her teacher group, at a conference in San Diego. All smiling. All innocent. I zoomed in. There he was. Same guy. Standing next to her. Arm around her shoulder. Tag. Brent Callahan. I searched the name. Turns out, Brent wasn't a teacher. He was a principal. From a school district in northern Illinois. Married. 2 kids. Now it made sense. Cancun wasn't some random fling. They planned this. Carefully. Quietly. They both had something to lose. And they thought they were smart enough to get away with it. So I made a decision. I printed the Cancun photo and the Facebook group shot. Wrote a short, polite letter. No threats. No rage. Just the facts. I mailed it to his wife. I didn't expect a thank you. Didn't want one. Just wanted the truth to land where it needed to. 2 weeks later, Rachel showed up at my house at night. No warning. Just knocked on the door like nothing happened. Her eyes were swollen. She looked rough. You mailed her? She asked quietly. I didn't answer. He's getting a divorce now, she said, voice trembling. His school put him on leave. I just stood there. You're destroying lives, Derek, I said. No. You did that. I just turned the lights on. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Like I was the villain now. I almost laughed. You need to stop, she whispered. Please. I shut the door in her face. But I knew she wasn't finished. People like her don't stop when they're caught. They stop when they have nothing left to lose. And she was about to find out what that felt like. After I slammed the door in her face, I figured she'd finally back off. But that's not how Rachel works. She doesn't stop. She doesn't quit. She circles around, finds another angle, and tries again. A week later, I got a letter from her lawyer. She was now asking for spousal support. Said she had emotional trauma from the collapse of our marriage. Claimed I blindsided her with the divorce. Said she couldn't keep working full-time because of stress and mental health issues. I sat there holding the letter, thinking how fast a person could go from begging at your front door to trying to drain your bank account. But she wasn't done. The same day I got that letter, my boss called me into the office. We got a complaint, Derek, he said, looking uncomfortable. Someone called and said you'd been threatening your ex-wife. Said you might be unstable. It wasn't hard to guess who made the call. Luckily, my boss has known me 15 years. He asked if I was okay. I told him everything, straight up. Showed him the photo. Told him the full story. He believed me, said I could take a few days if I needed to. But I knew what Rachel was trying to do. She wanted to rattle me. Make me look unhinged. If she couldn't win with lies, she'd win by dragging my name through the mud until I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to hit back smarter. I called my lawyer. Told him everything she was doing, the fake HR complaint, the spousal support claim, the call to my job. He nodded slowly, then leaned in. Do you want to go nuclear? He asked. I said yes. So we started digging. Financials. School records. Emails. My lawyer hired a private investigator, not the creepy kind from movies, just a real quiet guy named Mike who knew where to look. A week later, Mike called me. You're gonna want to see this. He sent over screenshots. Emails. Dozens of them. From Rachel's school account. From her personal Gmail. Conversations between her and Brent going back over a year. They weren't just cheating, they were planning to leave their spouses. Together. Even worse? They were using school money to fund parts of it. Booking trips. Submitting fake conference receipts. Charging educational materials that didn't exist. Mike found one invoice for a curriculum integration workshop, except the hotel listed was a 5-star spa in Napa Valley. I guess Brent liked wine tastings. This wasn't just infidelity. It was fraud. Misuse of school funds. Both of them could lose their licenses. My lawyer put together a full report. Said if I submitted it to her school board, or the Illinois school board where Brent worked, they'd both be investigated. Probably fired. Maybe worse. He asked again. You sure you want to press this? I said yes. But I didn't want to do it directly. Not yet. I sent copies of everything anonymously to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. And another copy to the Illinois Board of Education. I even sent it to a local education watchdog group that published monthly reports on school misconduct. 2 weeks later, Rachel called me again. This time, she wasn't angry. She wasn't crying either. She sounded hollow. They're investigating me, she said. They said someone submitted proof of misused travel funds. They're reviewing my emails now. I didn't say anything. They're going to fire me, Derek, she whispered. Still, I said nothing. I can't lose my job. You don't know what that means for me. Finally, I answered. You lost me in Cancun. Everything else was your choice after that. She hung up. That night, I got a message on Facebook. From Brent's wife. It was one sentence. Thank you? That's all it said. I sat there, reading it over and over, thinking how weird life is. How strangers can be the ones who understand you best. While the people you trusted most turn into ghosts wearing your memories. But I wasn't done yet. Rachel had one more secret she thought I didn't know. And once I pulled on that thread, everything would unravel. After the investigation started, Rachel disappeared from public life for a while. No new Facebook posts. No emails. Her school wiped her name off their staff directory. People were talking, especially parents. I even overheard someone at the grocery store mention her name. Said she'd been put on leave after some kind of inappropriate travel thing. I kept quiet. I wasn't after gossip. I wanted truth and justice. Real consequences. But like I said, Rachel still had one secret. I found it by accident. I was going through old tax documents, getting everything in order for the divorce. That's when I noticed something weird, a deduction from our joint bank account last year. It was listed as medical testing, $437. I didn't remember either of us getting any tests that year. So I called the clinic listed. Told them I was reviewing charges on a shared account. Asked if it was a mistake. The woman on the line hesitated, then said, "That was a paternity test." I froze. A what? A paternity test was ordered and paid for on that date, she said carefully. I thanked her and hung up. I sat at the kitchen table, just staring. Rachel and I never had kids. We tried for a few years, but it never happened. She'd said she was okay with it. Said she didn't want to do IVF. I thought we were on the same page. But a paternity test? That meant one thing, she already had a kid. Or thought she might. I called Mike, the PI, told him to dig deeper. I needed to know everything. A week later, I got the file. Turns out, Brent wasn't her first affair. He was just the one that stuck. 2 years ago, Rachel had a short affair with another teacher. A married one. It ended quickly, but 3 months after that, she suddenly became really close with a student's mom. Said she was mentoring the kid. Said it was a personal situation. She started visiting them often. Brought over food. helped with homework. I never thought much of it. But Mike found out the real story. That boy? His name was Trevor. 6 years old. Same dark eyes as Rachel. Same laugh. Rachel didn't order the paternity test for someone else. She ordered it for herself. The man she had the affair with didn't know. But she did. She kept quiet. Helped raise the kid in secret. Used school funds to visit them. Bought gifts. Clothes. Supplies. The whole time, she kept it hidden from me, from everyone. I felt sick. Not just from the betrayal, but from how deep the lies went. How long she kept this fake life going behind the scenes while I lived like an idiot thinking we were trying to be parents. That was the final straw. I gave everything to my lawyer, the kid, the secret visits, the paternity test, all of it. He took it straight to the judge. And this time, we weren't just asking for divorce. We were asking for punitive damages. Rachel was charged with professional misconduct, financial fraud, and lying on district reimbursement forms. She lost her teaching license. Brent lost his job, too. Turns out he forged signatures on several travel documents. His wife filed for divorce and won full custody of their kids. But the best part? Rachel tried to run. She moved to Indiana, tried applying under a different name at a charter school. Mike found her again. Sent everything to their board. She was banned from working in public education in 3 states. The judge in our divorce case gave me the house, the car, and refused her request for spousal support. He even gave me the option to pursue criminal charges, but I didn't take it. I didn't want to see her in jail. That'd be too easy. I wanted her to live in the wreckage she built. Now she works at a call center. Last I heard, she rents a small studio apartment outside Indianapolis. No friends. No savings. No career. She tried reaching out once, through an old mutual friend. Asked if I'd ever be open to talking again. I blocked her number. As for me? I took a long break from everything. Spent some time with my sister in Green Bay. Rebuilt the house. Went to therapy. Got back in shape. I'm not bitter, not anymore. But I'm not the same guy I was. I see things clearer now. I don't ignore gut feelings. I don't accept half-truths. And most importantly, I don't fix people who are already broken on the inside. That's not my job anymore. That photo, the one I took by the pool? It's framed. Sitting in my garage. Not to remind me of pain, but to remind me what I survived. Because sometimes, revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's just walking away, while the fire burns behind you. And never looking back.